Thank you, Stephen, for that very nice introduction. Thank you for this very nice welcome. Before I start, I want to make sure that you see my wife, Carol, sitting down here, and our granddaughter, Linda. It wasn't too long since I've been on this campus. I didn't know if anybody would show up today, but I'm really delighted to see this very nice turnout. Thank you for coming. You know, we talk a lot about liberty. Liberty is really the issue. It's the lack of liberty that got us into this trouble, and when you have big government, you have less liberty. But you know, the ideas of liberty have been around a lot, but we're trying to reinstill that into our system once again and make that the issue. And I am convinced it's an idea whose time has come, and it's been said that when an idea whose time has come, armies can't stop an idea, and I don't think they're going to stop us now on the return to a society that respects our liberty and our Constitution. Seems that the campuses give these views a very strong reception, and I keep getting asked the question. I'm always pleased. A lot of young people tell me that I energize them. Let me tell you, young people energize me as well. So it's a mutual relationship, and people try to analyze and say, why do the young people support you so strongly? But one thing has been noticed recently in some of the people who've been writing about this, they're recognizing that it's just not the young people, it's anybody who has a young idea and a young understanding of what liberty is all about, what economic growth is all about, and what our Constitution is all about, and all of a sudden we get people from all walks in life coming together to support these views. That I enjoy. But it's very easy in politics to condemn your opponents. It's very easy to condemn the current president. It's not hard for me to do that because we're in a mess. We've been in a mess. Things have gotten worse, and our current administration is not helping. But the truth is, if you look at this, it took a long time for us to get ourselves into this mess. The debt didn't come up overnight. It didn't come in the last 3 years. We didn't undermine the system, you know, just overnight. We didn't have this foreign policy just for the last 2 years. We've had a foreign policy that has gone astray. It's been around for almost 100 years. We're just way too much involved in wasting resources overseas, and that is why, especially the young people and the people who care about our budget deficits and the crisis that we're in, about the enormous amount of waste and the money that we spend overseas, it's not hard to figure out that if we spend that money back at home, we would be a much richer nation and a safer nation for it. In order to do that, we have to think about policies, overall policies. That's what the founders actually talked about, what should the role of government be, and they came down on the side of it wasn't the role that they were suffering under the king. But we have gradually and subtly shifted away from a government of the people to that of an elite group. We have the executive branch way too powerful, the judicial branch is way too powerful. Unfortunately, the legislative branch is negligent when they should be upholding their responsibilities. But the erosion has occurred essentially for the past 100 years, whether it's the foreign policy, the monetary policy, economic policy. But now we're a debtor nation. We have bankrupted ourselves, and the prosperity that we see, whether it's the government programs or whatever, is all done on borrowed money. And we're in the midst of a debt crisis. And it's not a national debt crisis, it's an international debt crisis. And it's very much involved, and the dollar is at stake because the world has used the dollar as the reserve. They have been using the dollar since 1971 as if the dollar were backed by gold. It hasn't been backed by gold, but they've been taking it. Now, under those circumstances, it can last for a while and gives the country that issues those dollars to have an advantage, but eventually the world gives up on that currency because you just can't print a currency forever and ever and think it's going to maintain value. And that's what we're talking about today. This is why the standard of living is going down for middle class. The standard of living especially going down on fixed incomes, especially those people receiving Social Security benefits. The middle class is smaller than it used to be, and its poor. Exactly opposite of what a free society produces and what free markets produce. So when we were a much freer society, when we had a much freer economy, when we had a sound monetary system and a gold standard, we weren't fighting these endless wars overseas, we had the largest and the wealthiest middle class known in the history of the world. If we don't change what we're doing, that will get worse. So I say, look to these values, look to our Constitution, look to good economic policies, and we can restore those conditions where we will once again have the wealthiest and the largest middle class in the entire world. Decided on a revolution, and they wrote a constitution. Though it was imperfect, it really was the best document ever, and it ushered in a wonderful age, and we benefited. We still all benefit from this, but if we're not careful, we're going to lose it all. But their foreign policy was well designed. They said the president has the authority and responsibility to be the commander-in-chief if there's a war declared, that war should never be fought unless the people support it through their elected representatives and Congress. If we would just follow that one rule, and if we had done that since World War II, if we had never gone to war since World War II without a declaration, just think how much wealthier we'd be. Just in the past 10 years, we have added over $4 trillion of debt to our national debt just fighting the wars in the Middle East. That means that money could have been spent here, back at home, and that is one of the reasons why we're suffering, and one of the major reasons that we have to reassess and change our foreign policy to one of a strong national defense, defend this country, and don't pretend that we can be the policemen of the world. Very simply means that the immediate effect of a constitutional foreign policy would be bringing our troops home. If we have to fight a war, we declare it, which means that it's necessary, there's support, and we fight it to win it and get it over with. World War II was won in less than 4 years, fighting both the Japanese and the Germans. We've been in Afghanistan for over 10 years, and we're still bleeding from it. We're bleeding. We're still having loss of life. We have a tremendous number of individuals who have lost a lot of limbs, amputees, people suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome, and a lot of them not getting the care that they wanted and need. And this is the reason why we can't continue this. If it were really providing a strong national defense, this would be understandable. But my belief and my conviction is that the foreign policy we have doesn't make us safer. I think it makes us more vulnerable because the money is so misspent. That should change.